Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to my lecturer Ms. Nur Husna and my fellow friends. My name is Muhammad Hazim Mustaza from class 6K, and today I'm going to present Approximate Estimating in Construction for course DBT362 Building Economy. Without wasting any time, let's begin. Here is the table of content for this presentation. First, the introduction to approximate estimating, followed by the methods and the advantage and limitation. After that, we will look at the application to a provide project scenario, and finally, the conclusion and recommendation. Let's start with the first topic. First, what is approximate estimating? Basically, it is a preliminary cost calculation done before any detailed drawings or specification are ready. We use this during the early stage of construction planning to get a rough idea of the project cost, which helps in decision making and budgeting. Moving to the importance and purpose of approximate estimating in the early stage. First, it is crucial for feasibility studies to determine if the project is economically viable. It also saves time by avoiding detailed planning too early and helps in resource planning as well as stakeholder communication to secure initial funding. In terms of its purpose, it acts as a risk management tool to identify financial risk early, helps the client to set a realistic initial budget to secure loan, and lastly, provide cost control to keep the project from overspending. Next, let's look at the commonly used approximate estimating technique. There are four main methods here, which are unit method, cubic method, floor area method, and lastly, story enclosure method. Let's look into the detail of this method. First, let's look at the unit method. This method estimates a project cost based on the number of standard functional units and the cost per unit. It is highly suitable for projects like school based on cost per student, hospital per bed, hotels per room, and housing per house. For a worker example, if a hospital has 200 beds and the cost per bed is 30,000 ringgit, the total estimate cost would be 6 million ringgit. Now, let's move to the next method. Next is cubic method. This method estimates construction cost by calculating the total volume of the structure and multiplying it by the rate per unit volume. It is most suitable for buildings like warehouse, industrial buildings, halls, or buildings with different floor height. Looking at the worker example, if a building is 30 meter long, 25 meter wide, and 6 meters high, we multiply the total volume by a rate of 700 ringgit per cube meter, giving us an estimate cost of 3,150,000. The third method is floor area method. This method estimates the total cost by multiplying the total usable floor area by the cost per unit area, which include all covered space but exclude external element. This method is suitable for residential building, commercial building, or any standard building where floor area data is available. For the worker example, if the ground floor area is 200 square meters and the first floor is 300 square meter, we combine them and multiply by a rate of 2,500 ringgit. This gives us a total estimate cost of 750,000 ringgit. Last but not least, story enclosure method. This method calculates a building cost based on the total vertical surface area of all floors, including walls and partition, multiplied by a standard rate per unit area. This technique is highly suitable for buildings where the shape and external enclosure significantly affect the overall cost. In the worker example, we sum up the calculated cost for each component: 750,000 for the floor, 300,000 for the walls, and 275,000 for the roof, bringing the total estimate cost to 1,325,000 ringgit. Now, let's look at the advantages and limitations of each method. The first one is unit method. Unit methods is fast and simple for the conceptual stage, but it can be inaccurate because it ignores design change and building shape. Second, cubic method is good for high ceiling structure since it considers height, but it ignores internal layout. Next, floor area method is extremely quick and use widely available historical data, but it completely ignores architectural height. Lastly, story enclosure method is highly accurate because it accounts for external skin ratios, but the downside is that it's complete and require detailed drawings. Next, let's look at the application to a provide project scenario. The proposed project is the construction of 4 units of 2-story shop office, which is a commercial building located at Gertak 100, Kuala Besut, Terengganu. For this scenario, the chosen technique is a floor area method. I choose this method because the floor plan and building dimension are already available for measurement and cost calculation. Now, let's see the actual application. Moving on to the measurement of the total floor area. As I have highlighted here, the dimension for both the ground floor and the first floor are identical. The total length is 26.488 meters and the total width is 21.873 meters. By multiplying the length and width, the total area for each floor comes out to 579.37 square meters. Next, I will present the final cost calculation. Now, for the estimate cost of the project. First, the total gross floor area is calculated by combining the ground floor and first floor, which give a total of 1,158.74 square meters. By using the market rate of 1,400 ringgit per square meter for 2-story shop office in Kuala Besut, the estimate cost comes up to 1,622,236 ringgit, or roughly 1.62 million ringgit. It is also important to note that this estimate reflects a 60% year-to-year increase in the unit price index of SEN for Terengganu and Kelantan, based on the April 2026 DOSM report. Now, let's discuss the reliability of our estimation. There are several key factors that can affect the final construction cost. First one is location. Labor, transport, and material costs vary by region, meaning project in Terengganu will differ from national average. Second one is inflation. Costs increase over time, as seen with a 16% annual rise in sand price. Third one, material price and quality. Any fluctuation in the price of steel, concrete, and sand, or deciding to use higher quality finishes will directly impact the total budget. Finally, project specification. Things like contractor demands and local material availability can also shift the final construction price. To conclude my presentation, here are the key findings and recommendations. For the key finding, the floor area method emerged as the best overall approximate estimating approach, because it strikes the perfect balance between calculation speed and baseline cost accuracy. As for the recommendation, the suggestions are to use current and reliable cost data, apply location and inflation adjustment where necessary, and update the estimate as the design develops. Additionally, a detailed estimate should be prepared once complete drawings and specifications are available. And it is always good practice to compare the results with similar recently completed project. And with that, I conclude my presentation on approximate estimating in construction. I would like to express my sincere gratitude for your time and attention. Thank you for watching.